Hey, what is up? My name is Jason, and today I'm going to do a in the bag video going into the 2024 season. 2023 was my first year playing a full season, played in a few tournaments, was able to win an MA4 and an MA3 tournament this past year. So going into 2024, I'm going to make my way into MA2, probably play my first tournament MA3 again, and then work up into MA2. So tournaments for this year, I am planning on doing spring runoff in Lethbridge, Alberta, and then for sure doing Ken Nationals in BC. So those are the two that I'm geared for right now, but obviously gonna try to add as many in between those as I can. So for 2024, I am rocking the Pound Octothorpe bag. Really like this bag. It holds more than enough discs for me for casual daily rounds. I usually run around 20 to 23 discs depending on if I'm trying some new ones out or not. And then come tournaments, I can throw a couple extra in the side pockets for backups or utility discs that I don't typically carry in a daily round. So features of the bag, like I mentioned, you got the side pockets. They can fit water bottles, which is typically what I have in the side. Big open side pockets for hoodies or rain jacket, reachers, so on and so forth. I have a knee pad attached to mine, flight towel. This is a goat towel, super awesome, waffled on the back, soft microfiber on the front, works great. My mini pocket, don't fuck this up, helps me make 60% more putts. And when you make about 10%, 60% isn't that much more. So yeah, let's get into it. So my putting putters, I'm currently putting with the Hooligan Cash. This is a Lone Star made disc. Hooligan just went to start doing their own, so best of luck to them. But I'm continuing to putt with them for 2024. I've got these, and then I've got some new ones that are still Lone Star made. I didn't mention, but I am Lone Star sponsored, so everything in my bag is manufactured by Lone Star Discs. Next, going into some throwing putters, I have two Armadillos. Armadillo is a 1201, basically Berg-esque. I can throw these hard with the Bravo version, this blue one. I can get a little bit of a flip up, slight turn, and a straight fade. This one was dyed by Sick Custom Dyes. It's a little bit more overstable. It's in a Founders plastic, so just a touch more stable. I can throw this hard and it will finish a little bit more left. So, and then I've got the Horny Toad. This is in Alpha plastic. This is a 4304. It's got a little bit of a puddle to it. Very stable for me. I can use this on a big hyzering dump left type shot, flex this, and I also use it for forehand kind of chip ups and stuff as well. So love this disc. Moving on, we've got an Artemis in the bag. Again, this is in Alpha plastic. Alpha is their stiffer premium plastic. So this is a 4403. For me, this is a little straighter than a 4403, but probably more like a 4302. So this is a nice backhand, throw it flat, get some distance, and have it fade to the left. So I typically throw this on holes in the 220-ish range, up to 250-ish. And I can throw this hard and I know it's going to come back and finish near the basket for me. Next one, another Hooligan disc. This is the rope. This is the Freddie Meza Tour Series rope. It is in Alpha. It is a 5.5 -2.1. So for me, this is a touch flippier. I can throw this with a bit of hyzer. It'll stand up, give me some long turn with a gentle fade at the end. This is a great go-to if I have to tunnel shot something, or I want to try and ride some wind back towards the hole, those kinds of shots. Really love throwing this. Have ordered a couple more just for the bag as backups. So. Next is the Lone Star Texas Ranger. This is in Alpha Plastic. Another die by Sick Custom Dies. He does amazing work. This one, like I said, is in Alpha. It's a very straight flyer for me with a good amount of fade at the end. So I will typically throw this on a bit of a hyzer line, let it go out, fade, and then crash back in. So I don't get much turn out of this or much flip up. So as I beat this in, this should start to kind of do that. But right now it's pretty much just to throw it hard, maybe a touch of anhyzer to get a little bit of flex out of it and have it finish to the left. Moving on, I've got a Lone Star MIDI in Alpha. So this one is a 5503. I really can crank on this really hard, have a bit of anhyzer on it, and I know it's going to finish left. There's really no chance of this burning over on me. So go to if it's a little bit windier, or if I got to get a little more left than I need with the Texas Ranger, I can throw this and know it's going to push and fade harder to the left. So that's the MIDI. Next, I've got a little bit of a utility disc for me, but it's getting a little bit more play, and that is the Walker 5304. This one is in Bravo plastic. So Bravo is a little bit more give, a little bit plasticky or rubbery. Great feel though, nice grip to it. So you'll find that most of my distance drivers are in Bravo, which I prefer. So this one is really stable. It's my overstable mid, so I can throw this in any wind condition and trust it. Typically on this, I'll throw it on a flex line where I'm trying to land softly at a basket, give it a lot of anhyzer, let it pan, and then flop down. Forehand, same kind of thing. Throw it with some Annie and let it just kind of die at the basket. So moving into the fairway drivers. First one up is the Mockingbird. Love the Mockingbird. This one's brand new in my bag. I've got to season this in a bit, but it's got a lot of dome compared to some of the other ones I've had. This is a 7.5 -2-1. So ideally I should be able to throw this with a touch of hyzer, get it to stand up, get a little turn and a gentle fade, or throw it flat to slight Annie and get a big panning backhand turnover shot. I don't throw a lot of forehands. It's a part of my game that I'm developing. So backhand turnovers are essential. So discs like the Rope and the Mockingbird are key for me. This one, like I said, is brand new, so I got to season it in with that pop top to it. It won't quite turn over where I need it to, so just need to keep throwing it and beat that in a bit. So next up is one of my favorite discs in my bag at the moment. This is a Bravo Frio, which is a 7.5 -1-1. Again, Bravo plastics, it's a little softer. Great tackiness. This is a disc that I both forehand and backhand. Where are you going? Come on. Lay down. Come on. Lay down. So I can throw this on a bit of a hyzer forehand. It'll stand up and then it'll fade for me. Playing at 3,000 feet here in Calgary, where most of my rounds are, this is an essential for me. It's a straight flyer on a backhand, great disc on a forehand, and that Bravo plastic handles the torque really, really well. So love this disc. Next, I've got in the bag a Alpha Brazos 7502. This is a good stable fairway driver for me. I can really reef on this and I know it's going to go left. I have it in Alpha plastic currently so that I can get a bit of ground play. Typically with these types of shots, I want to throw it hard and low, let it skip up towards the basket. So love this color scheme. Most of my discs are in the pink, blue, purple range. This one's got a little bit of everything and then a nice gold stamp on it. I couldn't pass this one up. I had to have it. So that's the Brazos. I will throw that forehand a little bit, but I tend to go more towards the Frio. Next up is one of my biggest turnover discs and is becoming a roller disc as I learn throwing rollers, but is the Dome This is a Bravo plastic, 8.6 minus 3.1. So this one I will throw a lot of backhand turnover shots where I need to take the shape of a forehand that I just don't have the distance for yet. So I can throw this hard with a touch of hyzer on it. It'll turn really well for me and push all the way to the hole, kind of turning right. I can throw a little bit more hyzer. It'll stand up, slight turn with a touch of fade for kind of tunnel shots. Or if I throw this with a lot of height and hyzer, it'll just pan to the right the whole way. So good disc for me with the developing forehand that I have. Next up is the Hooligan Disc Thread, very similar to the Lone Star Lariat. It's a 9.5 minus 1.1. I find this is a touch, and by touch I mean maybe a 0.5 more understable than the Lariat. That's why it's in the bag instead of the Lariat. I'd like to have a little bit more flip out of this, but it's just currently in the bag to kind of fill that hole. A new disc that they just released is the 9.5 minus 1.2 of the Wrangler. I have this one in an Alpha Glow plastic. Glow tends to be a touch more understable, so I wanted to give this a chance to see if it would maybe turn a touch more, but it's quite stable. So, but I'll get into that in a moment. So this I will throw, 300, 310 out to the right, and then just let it come back. Pretty standard hyzer shot. I can put a touch of Annie on it and get a little bit more distance. But the nice thing with the Wrangler is we're seeing a touch more glide at 3,000 feet up here. Maybe not so much. It's very similar to the Lariat or the Thread for me. But the feel in the hand is super nice. So still kind of working with this one. But that's one of their newer discs. Next up is another one of their newer discs. And this one, I didn't think I would bag, but it's basically taking the place of two discs for me. This is a Bravo spur. The spur is a 9304, 9403. So this is basically taking the spot of the Mad Cat and the Chupacabra out of my bag. It's nice being able to have one disc to kind of do both of those discs. I do still bag the Chupacabra, which I'll touch on later for tournaments and utility wise, but as for this disc, it is super reliable, super stable. I can throw it on an Annie and know it's going to pan and come back to the left. I can throw it on a chop. I can throw it hyzer. Just very easy to know exactly what's going to happen when you throw this. It's hard to kind of mess that shot up. As long as you give it room, it'll do what you want to. So I usually have a second one in my bag as well. That takes me into the distance drivers. First one is the Tumbleweed. This is a 10.6 minus 4.1. For me, this is probably closer to a 10.6 minus 3.2, especially at this elevation. So I can really hammer on this for distance drivers. The rim width for me, the 10 is probably ideal. 10 to 11 is as big as I really enjoy throwing. So this one I will throw on a touch of hyzer. It'll flip up, give me that S turn with finish to the left. I can also throw this on a big skying Annie and it'll pan with just a good finish forward at the end. So I will forehand this a little bit. Like I said, I'm working on a forehand, so understable stuff is working well for me. I can throw this with a good form without just worrying about a baseball type throw. So I can throw this, and if I throw it well with some good hyzer on it, it'll stand up, push, and then finish to the right. So another one of my favorites at the moment. Next is the Curl. This is an 11.5 minus 2.1. This is probably my go-to distance driver for max distance. I can hammer on this, maybe not into the wind, but in calm conditions or a slight tailwind, I can hammer on this pretty close to flat, touch a hyzer, and it's going to just go, give me a really nice line with a bit of turn and a good fade. So nice, reliable. If I have a little bit more distance where I'm kind of pinched off and I have to throw a forehand, I can throw this and it'll give me as much distance as I can get and a good skip to the right. Next is the Nimitz. This is the Jesse Prado Smith stamp version, again in Bravo plastic. This one is an 11.5 minus 2.2, minus 2.3, sorry, minus 1.3. Get my numbers right here, 11.5 minus 1.3. And this is a slight headwind one for me compared to the curl, so just a touch more stability. This one's starting to break in really well, that I can get a touch of turn on it with a good solid finish at the end. But if it gets too much headwind, I need to step up. And that's where the Flight Club Disc Golf Stamped Nimitz comes in. This is in the Founders plastic, which gives a touch more stability on the numbers. Still an 11.5 minus 1.3, but the plastic gives it a touch more stability. So this is in the bag for just that little bit more wind. Very similar throwing lines as the regular Nimitz. Both of those are Nimitzes. Next in the bag, I've got my distance driver for big headwinds. This is the Warbird, again in Bravo plastic. The Warbird is an 11.6 minus 1.3, sorry, 12.6 minus 1.3. So very close numbers to the Nimitz, but this is a ton more stable. I can throw this in 30-mile-an-hour winds and it'll come back. It's super, super stable. That Bravo plastic gives me nice grip, so I get good snap. That 12-speed rim is a touch big for me at the moment, just getting used to it. But this is a very reliable disc in the wind. And then lastly, I've got another newer disc. It's the Growler. This is the Gorilla Disc Golf collab with Lisa Fadkus stamp. Love the stamp, I couldn't pass it up. Blue with pink in it. This is color glow as well, so it's a touch more stable than say an Alpha or Bravo would be. This is a 12-speed driver. It's a 12.5 minus 3.2. So learning to throw this one. It's newer in the bag, so still kind of getting used to it. But I'll reach for this if I got a touch of headwind and I want to try and get some max distance. So that's the majority of my bag. I do, like I said, carry spares like the Lone Star Spur. And then I've got the Chupacabra. This is a Founders plastic, so very, very stable, 9304. This is like a skip disc for me, so if I have a hole where I need to get left in a hurry, I can throw this hard and low, it'll hit and just flare up, skip, roll a bit and just stop. So very good utility disc for me. I don't really throw it in any other kind of situations other than maybe a forehand skip underneath of a tree and get right. But those are essentially the discs that I'll be throwing for 2024. If you have any questions about Lone Star, the plastic, the different molds that they offer, feel free to hit me up. We'd love to chat. Take care, guys.